orient this shit? No. Alright. I forgot to turn my camera before I started, so I'll be in this, probably in this little window box thing here. Sorry about that. It's not about the visual experience anyways, really. And we got people there already. Hello, y'all. Well, I'm Uncle Birch, but you probably know that because you're subscribed to my channel, right? I know. I know. You thought I forgot about you all. I haven't come and done an Ask Uncle Birch on my own channel in a while. I've been bipping around on different new witch sites and doing this same kind of thing. Hello, Humberto. Hello, Singrid from Denmark. So I've been doing this thing on these new witch channels, exposing myself to total strangers that don't know who the fuck I am. I've been doing this Ask Uncle Birch, so I haven't come to my channel and done it in a little while. I just tried it on another channel a minute ago, and nobody awake over there. But here, my channel, I know immediately. I go on my channel, and there's gonna be people in there. Hello from Gardena. I think I can see you. Wait, I think Gardena's right that way. I know I can see it from here, though. Yeah, hi, Gardena. Let's see. So, I do this thing called Ask Uncle Birch. You probably already know that because you already subscribed to this channel. I do this a service to the community. I do a hell of a lot of teaching for free, even though I make my living teaching witchcraft. But also, this helps me. I'm on this teaching frenzy right now. I'm 2 years off from doing my year-in-a-day courses, my correspondence courses in witchcraft, and then started one in March, and I filled up, and I had to start one in May. That one filled up. The next one, August 1st. The next witch school year-in-a-day is coming out. So I do this to keep my teaching muscles strong. I find every time I do this that I really need to do this my teaching muscles strong. But I just to stay in shape and answer random questions from witches all over the world. Best way to learn witchcraft is to teach it. Although I recommend that you know what you're doing before you teach it, you learn so much stuff doing it that way. Let me see something. Oh, share. Oh, I gotta share this. I gotta share this on my Facebook channel. Okay. I don't think, well, maybe the Facebook people will get over here. Okay. Sometimes do this thing where I link up my Facebook channel and my my YouTube channel, and I can read them all, but it's Whale Hail. Okay, I reconnected. All right. A couple questions popped up as I was disconnected, and I did not see. So go ahead, give it a shot. I'm watching. If you have a question, ask me a question. Try not to ask me a question while I'm answering a question, because I see the question and it fucks me up, and I got two different parts of my brain going in two different directions. If you got a question on witchcraft, magic, hoodoo, conjure, folk magics of the world, I rarely find a magic that I don't know something about. Do you bone cast? I've been getting into that lately. No, I've taken a couple courses in bone casting. My wife does it. Michelle Jackson. Michelle Jackson's probably the best person I know for that. She was publishing some books through Lucky Mojo. I'm not sure if she's still connected with those people or not, but Michelle Jackson's got some excellent work on that. I think she teaches classes on that, but you know, bone casting, for those of you that don't know, it's a form of divination using several different types of bones. Usually there's other trinkets in with the bones, cast similar to the way we would cast rune stones or many other things. It's a form of divination. It's really popular in African traditions, but it's been used worldwide. Nobody reads entrails anymore. It's a problem there. Hey, Uncle Birch, do you sell spells or cast spells for clients? Well, yeah. Well, I sell. Hold on. Somebody asked me a question. Look at that. I manufacture. I make brews. It does take a long time to get stuff from me because I brew in a very old-fashioned way, and I'm the only one that I trust with that work. So never order from Uncle Birch unless you got at least a month to wait. Unless it's something that I don't make. You know, if it's not incense or oils or brews or that kind of thing, it doesn't take as long. But I brew in a very old school magical way. It tends to take some planetary movements before that happens. I do work for clients on occasion. I try to teach people how to do it themselves, and it's dirt cheaper to do it yourself. But not everybody can do that, or not everybody's experienced enough to pull that off right now. So I do take on work for clients, and I do not work for free. Any questions about that, or you want to hit me up on something like that, the best way to contact me is witchschool@gmail.com. This is, of course, witchskewl@witchschool.com. And yeah, I do all kind of work for clients. In addition, I mean, I'm a full-time witch, so I'm always doing some witchery, or I'm teaching it like I am here now. I saw there was another question, but I didn't see it all. I know it's kind of tricky. Just try not to press send when I'm answering a question. I just have to look away, or it totally messed me up. But I am Uncle Birch. I teach witchcraft for a living. Teaching you for free. I know. A question? Fire it off. I'll try to answer the questions. They only stay on the screen for a very short amount of time. So try not to be very long-winded to where I have to press more to see your question. But yeah, go ahead. You got it? Maybe this probably a good idea. Copy your question. So if I miss it, you can paste it back up in there. The people that are persistent with their question get the question answered more often than not. Do you sell spells for CSH? I think it's cash. Yeah, I do. I sell components for spells and teach how to use them, and I do spells for clients occasionally. But again, that's witchschool@gmail.com, witchskewl, to ask me about that. Astral magic. Okay, well, it's not really a question, but I'll try and figure out how that's a question. About astral magic. Yeah, doing magic on the astral plane is very old school. The majority of the magics that I find are we are creating an ethereal counterpart to our desire on the astral plane. We tend to do that with a symbol. It can be a sigil, a poppet, a charm, even a candle, and we're putting all this energy into that thing, which creates its astral counterpart. When we destroy the thing in physical space, we burn it up or whatnot, we force the laws of nature to work in our favor. Nature abhors a vacuum, and nature's going to move to make a physical counterpart to that astral ethereal form. Hopefully, she's going to manifest our desire and not just give us back a new sigil. Now, astral projecting is a much easier way to plant the ethereal form on the astral plane, and since there's no physical counterpart for that, it already starts that process. So in other words, we astral project, we go to the astral plane, we conjure up all of our energy and juju and put a symbol of that thing in the astral plane and then leave. And stuff happens. There's your badly formed question, astral magic. I think I answered. I think that's probably what you're driving at. I am Uncle Birch. I'm answering questions about witchcraft and magic. Again, try really hard not to ask me a question while I'm answering a question, or I'll have to look away and not see your question. Copy your question so you can paste it again. Do you still use the Sacred Grove Hotmail email? I'm getting ready to kill that altogether. I use the Sacred Grove. It's still my PayPal account, and people PayPal me. But yeah. First of all, it's Hotmail, which is ancient. It's almost like having an AOL account, and so it's spam ridden as it was. But then some wannabe hacker, hater, doesn't like me or doesn't like witches or something like that. Recently I got spam bomb, and it's just insane in there. And now almost everything's going to spam, so I have to search through thousands of spams. I get clients trying to contact me, and it's really hard to find their thing. So I'm getting ready to switch that all over, but I got to switch it in several places before I can do that. Right now, witchschool@gmail.com is the best way to get a hold of me, which is witchskewl@gmail.com. And I'm going to make a new Gmail account for the Sacred Grove and just transfer it all over there. But it's heady. I've got to change several sites, and then it's still listed on YouTube here. I don't even know if I can edit all of those videos, but no, Sacred Grove 913 at hotmail.com is not the best way to get a hold of me. If you do get a hold of me through there, consider yourself fortunate and consider it a miracle. It's a mess. Let's see. Okay, so I thought I saw another question, but then it faded away. Yeah, best thing to do is copy your questions so you can paste them again, because if I miss it, I'm just going to go on and I won't see it. I won't be able to answer your question. But I'm here answering questions, preparing for yet another year and a day course in witchcraft starting August 1st. It's been about every 2 or 3 months I've had to start another one because they fill up really quickly, and I got a lot of people chomping at the bit. I took 2 years off from doing that kind of work, and I guess the demand has risen. So, I'm giving the people what they want: more classes, more classes, more classes. So more teaching, practicing teaching. Sorry, I offended you. You didn't offend me. Why? What'd you say? I don't think anybody offended me. I don't recall being offended. No. Okay, so whoever you were, I missed your name. I don't think you offended me. Unless you guys are having an argument with each other on the chat room. That happens sometimes too. Some cross chat. I don't think anybody offended me. It's just my Hotmail account sucks. Hello, Iowa X. Good morning to you. It's a beautiful foggy day here in Hollywood. Do you think baneful magic can be used to attack and kill disease in the body? Dark magic. That's a damn good question. Shit. That which can kill can cure. We know that. I've never really thought about that or had anybody do that. But let's look at Western medicine. Can be said to be the medicine of poisons. And I remember I was taught it in actually witch school. It was the first place I heard it. I think they called him Theophrastus von Hohenheim. It was also known as Paracelsus. First came up with the idea. Let's see. Yeah, that's what it was. Pope. I forget which pope. You can look it up. The Pope contracted syphilis somehow. Something you only get from sex, and popes aren't supposed to have sex. But somehow, the Pope got syphilis. And the herbal doctors, the witches, they were not, it was a new thing, syphilis. So they didn't have a cure. So they were trying to find plants to cure this thing, and they didn't have anything. And Theophrastus von Hohenheim, Paracelsus, was an alchemist, and he theorized that the metal sacred to the god of medicine, Mercury, would cure all known disease. So he started dosing people with small doses of mercury, and the Pope didn't die. The Pope was cured. That made the Pope do a proclamation That was the new medicine approved by God. And all of the old medicine people were now witches and to be thrown into the Inquisition with the rest of them, and that they should cease operation right away. They say that that is the birth of poisons for medicine. Not my preferred method. If we look, the only treatment we've had for cancer forever is like poisoning the entire body and then letting the body repair itself. Not the best thing. So while they don't have any techniques for using baneful magic for healing, it does make a certain amount of sense. Hello. Somebody, there was a couple questions there. I'm not sure if there's lag between the questions, but just if you want me to answer your question, just try not to ask while I'm answering, because they pop in this little balloon that fades really quickly, and I get sidetracked. I get two different answers going on the two different sides of my brain, and it confuses me. But I am Uncle Birch, and I'm answering questions about witchcraft and magic. Do the show. Frequency of creation. Thanks for your question. That's a good question. I like the ones that make me think. I get on some of these new witch sites, and I've answered that question 20 times that day. Not so much with your question. That's a good question. I will be dwelling on that question, thinking of more ways to do that. That which can kill, can cure, has always been a proverb in herbal magic. And there were herbal poisons used to cure. It's all about dosage. Yeah, it seems like it could work. Absolutely. Right away I'm going, oh shit, that's a fucking crazy quick thing. I'm going, no, it's not so crazy. Think about it. You got me. Once you get me going like this with my whiskers. Good question. Thank you very much. I'm Uncle Birch. Give it a shot. Try not to ask a question while I'm answering a question. Try not to be too long-winded, because it disappears. Let's see. Have you ever evoked goetic demons, angels, etc.? Oh, hell yeah! My first book, my first one I picked up, maybe it was for the look of the book. Back then we still had hardcover books way at the top shelf, leather-bound, The Greater Keys of Solomon. Was the first book I picked up. Heady. I seem to have an understanding of it beyond my years right away, but I wanted to understand it more, and so I went to my witch mom, Judith Dufresne, and talked to her about it. She said, well, sleep on it. I said, all right. So I'll come back the next day. I said, all right, I slept on it. It's not making any more sense than it did yesterday. And she said, well, what'd you do? I said, well, I went to sleep, woke up, still, and she said, no, it's clear. Sleep on it. Put the book under your pillow and sleep on it. 40 some odd years later, I'm still trying to wrap my head around how or why that one works, but absolutely it does, man. Take your witchcraft book, whatever you're studying at the time, man, put it on your pillow, sleep on it. So absolutely, some of my first magics, some of my first experimentation was the Goetia, which is the lesser key of Solomon, and the stuff on the greater key of Solomon. Probably my first exorcism was maybe 14 years old, full blown fucking exorcism in the house. Yes, to answer your question, the long-winded way of answering your question, yes I have. I'm Uncle Birch, and I'm answering questions. So good to be back on my channel. I do enjoy going on the noob sites. Sometimes the same question all the time. Yes, that is gold, man. Sleep on it. I mean, we do that with our tarot cards. That's pretty common. But the book thing, I don't know if enough people teach that, but it was an old school thing. I don't know, man. The knowledge somehow seeps into your head. Your subconscious sees you put it on. I don't know exactly how it works. And most things that I practice, I'm able to wrap my head around how it works and, define that, explain that. still, but it fucking works, kids. Do it. I received my grimoire. Sleep on that. I'm a newbie here. Yes, just received your grimoire. All right. Well, there are many authors out there publishing grimoires, but from my training, a grimoire is written by the practitioner. Not to be confused with the Book of Shadows, but usually is. Book of Shadows is the embodiment of a tradition, all of the rituals, all of the lore, all of the particulars that make that tradition that tradition. Traditionally, a book, black book with silver writing, so you could easily spot it in the dark if a mob was approaching your house with torches, and it was going to be the one book that you grabbed and ran with out into the world. Now, grimoire was, I teach you, you keep a magical notebook. You write down everything that you did in that spell, every minute detail. And when you're done with that spell, you slam the book in your face, telling yourself you're not going to look at that book again for 3 months. Three moons, really. And you're going to open that book up. Open that book up, and after 3 months, see how the spell worked out. See how closely it manifested your will. See maybe what you want to tweak with the spell, and then do, if it wasn't perfect, do it a few more times. Or, you might, that spell under different planetary conditions might yield different results. So these are kind of important things to keep in your notes. Once you have perfected spells that you've tried under several different conditions and still pretty much yielding the same results, that goes in your grimoire. The grimoire is your perfected spell book. There are many people marketing grimoires out there, but traditionally I was taught a grimoire written by you. But since those are both written by us, everybody confuses the Book of Shadows and the grimoire. Book of Shadows is telling us what it is right there. It's a dark time for our people. These old pagan ideas, these old witchcraft things, they were taught orally and passed down through families, and these things were disrupted so much during the times of persecution that people, the belief is that many witches believed that they were the last witches alive. There was no contact with other covens, and people started writing things down out of fear that they would be lost. Which is, dark times for our people, but I'm here to tell you, oral traditions never survive. Oral traditions get all fucked up, and the fact that we spread so much information on the internet about stuff is like, that's how things get fucked up. People that don't know what they're saying repeat something they heard. Next person repeats that same thing on down the line. And then we're all fucked up. So writing things down was not really a dark time for our people. I am Uncle Birch. I saw a couple people out there. I don't know if there's a lag. Just try not to ask me a question. When I'm answering a question, I won't see it. Copy your question so you can paste it again really quick. Suggestion for a newbie to acquire what knowledge would be considered foundation for the craft. Before you walk, you gotta run. That was long. There are so many suggestions for newbies, and when I see it on these sites, you, my friend, I'm thinking you might enjoy this ceremonial magic school. It's on Facebook. I happen to be an admin there, even though I'm a witch. I'm not a ceremonialist, but I have a lot of ceremonial magic in my practice. I'm an admin there. If you go there and try and sign up, you better answer the questions. I don't care if you answer a Mickey Mouse for all the questions. Another admin might not accept that, but if it comes across my desk, you didn't answer the questions, I just decline all day long. But ceremonial magic school might be a thing. But while I hate to repeat myself, I find that the thing that when people ask for advice for noobs, I find most people saying all of the same stuff. Hello, whoever just said that. Everybody's saying the same advice for noobs, and not enough people are saying what I'm saying. My advice for noobs is extreme fire safety on all fronts. You want to be insane with your fire safety. Witches burn things. That's part of most of our rituals, from candle magic to cauldrons to burning sigils and petitions and flash paper, Vesta powder, gunpowder, you name it. We burn things. Don't burn the wrong things. Don't be one of the countless, including myself, that have burned down the house and or portions of the house, that have lost all of their precious magical belongings by fire. Try not to do that. Extreme fire safety. While they say never leave a candle burning unattended, those 7-day candle spells are usually meant to be burned down all the time. And I don't know if you're going to be home for 7 days, 24/7. A baking pan full of water on top of, pretty safe, but probably as safe you can get in the stove, in the fireplace if you got it, outside on concrete, nothing else around that can burn or fall on. There are ways to do that, but I'm supposed to tell you never leave a candle burning unattended, even though that's not always going to be the case. All right, so several questions, but again, I can only answer one question at a time. A sink's good. Make sure it's actually porcelain. A lot of sinks are actually resin. If you knock on it, it feels like plastic. Oh, no. Not fire safe at all. Even bathtubs these days, not all of them porcelain anymore. Check, just give it a knock. I am Uncle Birch. Got a lot of people in here. I am warming up for my next year in a day course in witchcraft beginning August 1st. Being hosted at gumroad.com/witchschool, which is of course WITCHSKEWL. If anybody wants to get into that course and secure your spot, you need to get a hold of me at witchschool@gmail.com, which is again WITCHSKEWL at gmail.com. August 1st, I will open up the class to anybody that wants to try their luck and try and get into the class. And it'll be open for a few days. Class is $35 a month for 12 months. My signal is waning a bit. Yeah, it happens sometimes. I don't know. I'm not even on my Wi-Fi right now. I think I'm on my data, my unlimited data from Verizon. I'm here in the heart of fucking Hollywood. And we have the internet of a third world country, man. I don't understand how it works here. I've got the highest rated internet in my region, and it ain't nothing like they say it is. It just sucks ass. I don't know. I'm hoping for 5G from space, man. Bought a couple of programs, have random questions. Again, witchschool@gmail.com is the best way to get a hold of me for most things. Client work, class work, it's where all my students are asking questions. But yeah, if you've downloaded any of the downloadable classes at gumroad.com, then that makes you a student of mine, and I have a certain obligation to answer the questions that I see fit to answer. So you send those over at witchschool@gmail.com, WITCHSKEWL. I'm Uncle Birch. If you have a question, fire it off. Please try to make it short so it doesn't scroll off the screen. Copy your question so you can paste it again if I missed it. They fade really quickly on the screen. I hope my signal doesn't fade too much. Oh, okay. And notifications popping up on my screen there. Hi, Uncle Birch, Emerald City, Mexico. So I'm Uncle Birch. I've been teaching witchcraft probably longer than your parents have been sperms. What I do, lifelong obsession with magic and witchcraft, and luckily the world happened to turn to where a witch can make a living as a witch. Happy days. I can do just this. I've done plenty of other jobs in my life, but always witchcraft on the side, always teaching on the side. For many years now, it's been my sole living, having a good time. And nobody can say I'm just in it for the money. Although I just plugged my class, I'm here doing it for free. Thank you, Frequency of Creation. Always love your profile picture, the universal hexagram. That's why I figured you might like the Ceremonial Magic School. Anything else called Ceremonial Magic School, but you'll see me on there, under my other name, Michael Corral, as an admin. A really good group, and they're trying to teach. They're teaching each other. A lot of Thelemites and OTO people, Golden Dawn people, that kind of thing. Typically go to Mystic Deanna. You change that by saying, oh, go by Mystic Deanna. Okay. Oh, Emerald City Mystic. Mystic Man. Okay. I think, God, you sound really familiar. Sometimes unless I've heard from people in my classes, I don't remember their names. I have so many students all over. I kind of think you've been in my classes or took a class or something. Your names are very familiar. Could be here. I lose track. I have students all over the world. With the coming year and a day courses, I haven't done this in a while either. It's been a couple years since I've done initiations. We'll be initiating more people into the Circle A system of magic. We have those people all over the world too. We talked on the phone for a long time. Oh yeah. Wait a minute. Do I owe you a reading? That might be you. My phone. I hopefully I took it off the website, but my phone. I had a phone number on the website. I had to take that off for the same problem. I have a problem with self-discipline. I always feel like well, one thing with self-discipline. In the beginning, try not to overdo it. You don't have to do a full-blown ritual every time. When I was first studying witchcraft, I was a busboy. I was the white busboy. As such, everybody else was Mexican. And it was busy. But times would come. It would be the moment of the spring equinox would come. The moment of the summer solstice would come. Full moon, new moon, what have you. I would be tracking these things. Back then we had little pocket calendars to carry around. Now it's done through apps on our phone. I would take my break right then, go into the stall in the bathroom and just, feel the changes in nature and meditate with them. That's really the important part. The rituals, the waves and stuff around. That's great if you can pull it off, but what we want to do, especially in the beginning, there are these peak times marked out by the wheel of the year, the wheel of the moon. You better be learning those. If you don't, I have an entire intro course here. It's like 10 years old. It's got a lot of leaning more towards Wicca. Wicca's the dominant force here, but it's totally free. A lot of good information. And it's right here on this channel. Just go look for Intro to Witchcraft. That one's free. The more the stuff I'm teaching now is a lot different than the stuff I'm teaching. And I always add stuff to my bag of tricks. But the point is, they have all these old sayings that the old people love to say, and then it's your job to figure out what the hell it meant. And one that they all say, and you'll see it on bumper stickers to this day: she changes everything she touches, and then everything she touches changes. She, being nature, first changes you to operate more like her. She changes you by having you connect with her at those peak times, at those cycles in nature, and over time you start to move more like the natural cycles in nature, and your magic works better. You're better able to do this thing. But the point of the rituals is just to do that thing. 300 for in-depth tarot readings. Wow. I've never gone that high. I think I'm $80. I think I'm $80 an hour right now, or something like that. Which I go pretty in depth. It ends up being like a therapy session. And those you can find, you want to sign up for a reading. That's at thesacredgrovestore.com. You can look. I think I've got a half an hour one and an hour one. 300. That tends to be more my base for client work. Like, there's not much that I would do casting a spell for somebody else for less than 300. I won't get out of bed and wave my arms around for you for less than that. So that's kind of like the starting rate for any work. In-depth tarot reading. How long is an in-depth tarot reading? I'm wondering. I'm just curious. I could do an in-depth tarot reading. Put that on my side. It's just another thing to do. Don't put a timeline on it. Okay. I don't really. I say an hour. I say a half hour. We always go overtime. Some people will say, "Hey, let me pay you for your time," and I won't refuse. But I rarely say, "Oh, hey, we went a half an hour over. Give me your credit card number and let me charge you more money." But that's interesting. I'm Uncle Birch. I'm answering questions about witchcraft, magic, voodoo. Not really voodoo. I may know some things about. I probably know some things about voodoo now. I'm saying it, but I'm not an initiate. Even Palo. There are some questions about Palo Mayombe that I might answer because I'm of that rank where I'm allowed to do that now. That is not my prime focus here. I'm not teaching Palo. But you got a question? Give me a shot, and I bet you I got something to say about it. Even something like I never heard about. Somebody asked me a question here that's never come up before. I had something to say about that. But just type your questions. Try not to be too long-winded. Try not to ask me a question when I'm answering a question. Copy your question so you can paste it. It's good to find people sharing. I'm a big fan of Frater X and Grammatic. Well, Frater X is my bro. You probably know that if you've been on his, if you've been on his channel. He plugs my stuff. He makes some of his own stuff. He plugs my stuff. Sometimes I'll get clients contacting him when it's been a long time for their order. Again, I work by myself. I adhere to magical timing. I make every bottle, every incense, whatever you have in your name, by me, adhering to magical timing, in the order in which the orders were received. So they take a while. But Frater X is my bro. Gramassi and I go way back. I would not know what the Chimaruta is. If you want to hear that story, I probably have it here on my channel, but I just interviewed Matt Oren on my podcast, Widdershins, which is at Spreaker.com/user/Widdershins. Look that up if you don't know how to spell. But he's a psychic, and he doesn't do psychic readings, and he saw fit to bring up the name Willie Nelson to me regarding the Chimaruta. That popped into his head, and that was a huge hit. If you want to hear that story, go listen to the podcast. It's a fascinating tale. And in that, me and Raven Gramassi go way back. Me and Raven Gramassi go back to when Raven was self-publishing in 1980 under the name Raven. That dates it. There's 3 billion Ravens out there now. You have to have a last and middle name to call yourself Raven now. I thought he was a woman. Based on the Gospel of Aradia that he wrote, I assumed he was a woman most of my life. And then somewhere, God, right before my daughter was born, mid-90s, he published under the name Llewellyn, and there they used his last name. But yeah, Frater X and me are bros. We talk all the time. I'm one of the few people that know his secret identity, and I won't tell you who it is. But yeah, Frater, man. Loves me some Frater. Not just to get along, because he knows his shit. And he's taken some of my stuff. I secretly took a couple of his stuff under another name, and he didn't know who it was. All of the stuff on YouTube, I watch all of that shit. Frater X is the shit. He's got production value. Frater X, he'll never show his face. And he's got, cutaways and scene graphics. I don't do any of that shit. I just turn the camera on and talk to you. Very different styles. His works for him. Mine works for me. I do believe that there's some of Gramassi's groups out there still initiating. I don't know people yet. Yeah, catch the Matt Oren interview. It was quite a thing. He really blew me away with that. You guys are so flattering me. And the City Mystic and everybody. Tyrone, hello. one of my kids out there, Tyrone. He's in my year to date course. I'll tell you that because he says it out there on the internet all the time. Tyrone's one of my students. I see all over the place. I see several of them all over the place on new witch sites answering questions. And Tyrone's doing a good job. I like the shit that he puts out there, like he posts, and he's knowing his shit because he's been studying for quite a while, and he's one of my students. And quite frankly, my students are the best students. Any student of mine knows witchcraft probably better than you. Probably better than anybody you know. They know shit that nobody knows anymore. I'm a little cocky about it. Tyrone is no exception about there. There are things that Tyrone and myself have very much disagreed about. I think maybe changing, but I'm not talking about those. But I recognize, and I actually, you know what I'm talking about because I said this in your last class, I believe. I see you guys popping up, my students out there, and then on some of these new witch sites, there's stuff that I know that I taught that nobody else is teaching, or it's in the words that I taught it, like nature abhors a vacuum. Using the specific law of physics within a magical context. If you hear somebody say that out there, they heard that from Uncle Birch. I'm cool. I don't need any credit. You don't need to quote me. You don't need to say that I said it. Anyway, how often do you do rituals in the astral and while lucid dreaming? Oh, fuck, all the time. I learned how to power nap with my first child, and I never went away. I can get in and out of REM sleep in 20 minutes and get a lot done. And on the other side, time passes very differently. You can get a lot done in a short amount of time. I do so much magic and things, and sneak around and spy on my students and stuff in my sleep. So very often. Been very interested in physics. There are free courses you can find online. I've been perfecting my craft for a very long time, so I tend to have success with most of it. In time, I develop new things. I add new things to my bag of tricks. I have new traditions that I get involved in. Been an initiate and now a priest, a tata in Palo Mayombe for a few years now. And I have said, if I have a couple months to wait for it, I'm going to go classic witchcraft. I need it tomorrow, I'm going Palo. And most times, Palo's going to do it for me. Oh, I completely trust your oils and Emerald City Mystic. Well, thank you. I know of nobody that does it that way, and it's got to be a pain in the ass. I try and recommend to people, and I post on my webpage and stuff. It's like, try and plan ahead. There are certain things that you should know that's probably going to come up, that you're going to want to have stuff on hand for casting spells. Get that stuff ahead of time. Charge that stuff when you're feeling powerful. Charge your money oils on payday, not when you're broke. But plan ahead. However, when people have a working plan, drop me a note and send me an email too, and I will move you to the front of the line if you have a working plan that you have to be ready for. Right now, I have my entire March class is at the front of the line, and I'm finishing those people's orders. Do you have any intentions for the new moon? Well, absolutely. And I believe we're still in Venus trine Pluto. Venus trine Pluto can rock your love life or your sex life in earth-shattering ways. When it first happened for me, and I noticed the conjunction, it actually ended a marriage, but it was time for that marriage to end, but opened up whole doors of sexuality and love that I had not known. I got married at I think it was 17. I think it was 17 when I got married. I had moved out with that woman when I was 16. very inexperienced in those realms, and stuck myself in this marriage. Venus trine Pluto brought that to a screeching halt by opening all these other doors, and it wasn't. I didn't do it. It was totally the wife's idea, but that's a whole different story. If you ain't doing work for that, you're missing the boat. And I believe we're still in that conjunction for like at least a day, but we're still at new moon. Venus trine Pluto. Secret things. A good thing to try new things in bed, learn new skills. Ask your partner for things you were afraid to ask for before. Rock that shit. Saturn conjunct Venus trine Mars at the moment. Still, Saturn conjunct Venus trine. It's still pretty potent for that. But remember that conjunction. It's going to come up again. Venus trine Pluto. Yeah, Venus trine Mars, Saturn conjunct Pluto. That's interesting now. And trine Venus. All right, thank you. I didn't check this morning. So we're at 46 minutes. I probably maybe last week of school for my kids. I got lots of parent stuff to do this week. Got stuff I got to do around the house. I'm in the midst of brewing orders. That's what the things I got to check on. Emerald City Mystic, court issue. I do court magic. I do court magic. You can contact me at witchschool@gmail.com. I was taught very old school court magic. The first two that I learned that Mom taught me, she had one if you were innocent and one if you were guilty. And very few people look at that. So, your average person's court magic is a justice spell. And if you're guilty and you do a justice spell, you're fucked. You do a justice spell and there's something else you were guilty for you didn't get caught on, yeah, you're probably going to be fucked again too. So no, justice spells ain't the way to go. Witchschool@gmail.com. WITCHSKEWL@gmail.com. Witch School is, if you see that out there, it's mine. Anywhere you see the words Witch School, it's going to be me. It's my email address, Gumroad page, this page too. Witch School, WITCHSKEWL@gmail.com. Yes, I do work for clients. I do teach people how to do magic, but not everybody's comfortable with it. Some people, they tried it, it's not working out for them. They need more experience. It's extremely cheaper to do it yourself. And I usually have instructional videos. But always, if you're gonna hire a professional, it's going to cost more than doing it yourself. But a lot of times, hiring a professional, you get better work done. So, do I teach astrology and understanding natal charts? No, I don't. Study enough astrology for the purpose of witchcraft, and astronomy for the purpose of witchcraft. There's a guy here on YouTube, Jade Soul Luna. Best teachers about this. Astrology King is also good, but Jade Soul Luna first taught me this thing that kind of rocked my world. He said tropical astrology, which tends to be the one that most people are using, was originally put together by somebody that failed to make one mathematical calculation. One mathematical calculation, the wobble of the Earth's axis was not taken into account in the calculations for tropical astrology. But sidereal astrology, Vedic astrology, and the other one, they did calculate that. So those three types of astrology are far more accurate than tropical astrology. You can actually... You get that Star Walk app, or there's another one for Google, the Sky Map, and you can look. It'll say, the moon's in Taurus right now, and I'll look up, from my perspective, from a specific time, and the moon's nowhere near Taurus. The moon's like Taurus is over here or something like that. You can see the miscalculation with your eyes. And over time, that miscalculation, the wobble of the Earth's axis, gets farther and farther apart. It makes it less and less accurate. Where under tropical or under sidereal and Vedic astrology, if you're born in the middle of the month, your sign probably stays the same. But if you're on the outskirts of the month, you're probably a different natal sign than you think. Something to look at. And most astrology apps have you could change it from tropical to sidereal. I find sidereal astrology to be extremely more accurate. And when I'm using that for magic, every bit counts, right? Somebody's asking about the year and a day course starting August. They asked if there's other materials. I suggest just a few things in the first class, mainly protection things to have on hand. Not much, maybe $20 worth of stuff. Sometimes even kitchen spices that you might have around and stuff. I talk about that in like the first class. No required reading materials. I used to always have books that's required reading in my classes. I figure students are going to be reading all kinds of different things, and I might recommend different books as we go. But then there's many books that are out of print now that are available in PDF that I actually provide a copy of. So there's no additional requirements, but you can check that out. You can contact me again at witchschool@gmail.com if you want to secure your spot in the August 1st class. Or you can wait till August 1st and try your luck at gumroad.com/witchschool. The course will be posted. Don't go there right now and click on one of the ones that says year and a day course, because those are the courses that are already in session, and you will have missed some of the course. So you either got to contact me and secure your spot in the August 1st course, or take your chances when I open it up. The last couple of times I did that, they filled up, and that's why I got to do it. I do not have any books published. I'm working on something rather volatile at the moment, and I am playing with one of my students in the year and a day course has been transcribing the classes for me, posting them on one of my sites. I'm kind of toying with that. I have to give her credit, pay her something for it, but I'm liking the way that reads. One of my favorite books was 50 Years in the Fairy Tradition by Cora Anderson. One of the things I liked about that was she didn't write. She spoke. She spoke like an old elder, and I like the way that read. I get a lot more. I find when I'm talking, I'm much more descriptive than when I'm writing. I'm just trying to get through the point when I'm writing, because I'm not primarily a writer. But having somebody just transcribe what I spoke in class, I like the way that reads, and I'm kind of toying with turning the year and a day course into a book too. The other work I'm not going to talk about because it's extremely volatile and not for new witches. Saw a couple of comments in there that might have been questions, but I kind of missed them. Again, I am Uncle Birch. How much do I charge to meet up with witches and join you in a ritual? I don't tend to do that anymore. I spent a number of years leading groups, leading covens, leading rituals, forming an entire community. Now, when I came here, when I was on my way to LA, I usually be careful about what I say on the internet, because I have enemies, and I know they're watching, and I usually know who their spies are. But I let it leak out that we're moving to Los Angeles, and two people that hate my guts, Susan Diamond and Orion Foxwood, drove to Los Angeles. While they drove to Los Angeles, Orion Foxwood cast one of his little poetry of war curses on me, and posted it on Facebook. Which is a terrible method for cursing. I laugh. It was really funny because the language of my words were to turn as a serpent on my tongue and turn upon me. And in recent times, a controversy came up regarding cultural appropriation and a certain book by witch doctor Utu. And in that fracas, an entire wing of the African American community and their allies turned on Mr. Foxwood as if a serpent in his mouth, his tongue, had turned upon him and bit him. I know of nothing that befell me anything like that at all. But the irony of how it turned on him, word for word, what his curse had been, found fascinating. Now, the purpose of the trash me to all of these shops around town, which didn't really work. I flowed into these shops and I'm fine. They're expecting me to come here and connect with the local witch community and procure their support or get involved in the community. And not why I'm here. No, I'm done. I've done that, and now I've done that. It was in I was a big fish in a small pond. I jumped out of that pond into the ocean. Those people are not even competitors of mine and are not even on the world stage with me in this particular venue. Appealing to the small pond of local pagan communities is not what I'm about. They build their own communities. I've already done that. I've already created entire pagan communities, and now I'm creating pagan communities worldwide. I had no intention of finding the support of these communities. However, saying that, all of the big player, famous Hollywood witches are my friends, and a couple of them are my neighbors, and so whole other communities. And those particular witches, they're making their living publishing books that are read by muggles and other people. Now, I lean to witches. I'm teaching to practitioners, but a local pagan, in fact, that community that those people came from, I created it with others. Other people helped, but I was the first one to try and organize a pagan community in that town, to provide a venue and organizers that had training in organizing to organize that community for portions of that community to turn on me later. But again, by that time, they didn't make me, couldn't break me. So I don't tend to do that. A few people here and there I've met up with locally. I've met some people here and there for coffee and that kind of stuff. So I don't charge for that kind of thing. But public rituals, no. I did 13 years of Sabbaths and 13 years of every full moon in Santa Cruz. Just not a thing that I feel wrong to do right now. There's a lot of bullshit in every pagan community. And unfortunately, when pagans and pagan communities are allowed to turn on each other, it's actually kind of a good sign. It's a sign that there's no church in the neighborhood oppressing us, because in those neighborhoods, the pagan communities are tight. When we're free to turn on each other and have witch wars and shit, it's a terrible good sign. But yeah, it's just, that's not my calling at this time. I felt no calling to do that. I felt no calling to try and teach really in any of these shops. And I do, if somebody wanted to, I would teach in person, you know, if somebody wanted me to around here, but I'm not looking for that. I'm not hitting anybody up for that. But who knows? Find me on Facebook if you're local. Maybe we'll figure something out. I think somebody just did ask me for an in-person reading. I guess I need to get back to answering that email. All right, that was a long-winded answer for something. I know you're not too popular with the African witches because of me. What? Tyrone? I don't know that at all. with Facebook and social media and the way that the world turned, I've been able to create a world where witchcraft is the norm. There's only a handful of people on my page that aren't witches or root workers or something. I don't know any unpopularity in the African communities. I'm still a pretty big player in a lot of the hoodoo communities. Although they've never asked me to be at a conjure fest or conjure con, what do they call that? The Mile High Conjure Galas or anything. Yeah, none of my friends have asked me to do that. I'm not bitter about that. But a lot of my friends, and through the Palo community, I was host on Candelo's Corner for well over 2 years. So way up in that community. I have a lot of those people on my show. I do not know of any unpopularity in the African witchcraft communities. I did have a falling out with Beverly, God, I don't even know her name. Beverly Smith. Oh yeah, Beverly Smith. You know, and I butted heads with Beverly Smith several times, but one time she posted on her Facebook page, it was the first women's march that happened right after Trump got elected, and she posted, I doubt if any of these white women would go to a Black Lives Matter rally, and she had a lot of bad things to say about the women's march. Now, I was at the women's march in the state capitol, Sacramento, with my wife and my kid. I saw no shortage of white people with Black Lives Matter shirts, and I thought that was absolute bullshit. And I asked her, I said, so, you know, she has a show called In the Streets with Beverly Smith. So I asked her, I said, so did you derive your opinion of the Women's March from your couch, or did you actually go? And by the way, did you actually vote? You're mentioning about Trump right now, but did you actually vote? Because a lot of African Americans were not going to vote out of protest back then, and a lot of people had these protest votes. We ended up with Trump. So I asked her those two questions. She called me an infiltrator, turned on me, and blocked me. Now, I'm an activist, an anarchist from way back, and deeply involved in activist communities way back in the 90s. And calling somebody an infiltrator, calling somebody an FBI agent was the last refuge of somebody that doesn't have an argument. It's a weapon used against people to shut them up, and it's usually pretty effective. I'm no fucking amateur there. She missed the mark there. I will absolutely just tell the truth of what happened. That's absolutely what happened between me and Beverly Smith, and she hates me to this day. She hates me to this day because I called her on her shit. She didn't go to the Women's March. She sat on her couch having a show called In the Streets, and there you go. I don't buy into conquering and dividing. It's kind of my problem. I'm like deep in these hoodoo communities. I'm deep in these conjure communities, deep in Apollo, deep into witchcraft, and I have found more similarities than I found differences. And I have found that indigenous people worldwide have come up with drastically similar ideas regarding magic, witchcraft, and spirituality that have no reason to exist. They exist before cultures had any interaction, any exchange, or any appropriation. And there is a lot of appropriation. There is a lot of conquering. A lot of things were spread through war. That's the reality. A lot of ideas, technology, religion, and gods were spread by war, spread by the Romans, spread by the Vikings, spread by everybody. Sure, which war's on the couch? You made me laugh. I don't know what I'm talking about now. I totally lost what I was saying, but I don't really think there was much of a point to it. But yeah, I'll be fucking honest. I'll say fucking right out what anybody said. But I'm deep in these communities, and I'll put that out there. I understand, Africans got a lot of issues, but not all white people were slave owners. I'm sorry, it's never going to work out. I had no idea that the Quakers helped organize the Underground Railroad, but now it makes sense. You had to have white landowners to have the Underground Railroad. It was not really underground. There was no train. It was a series of houses from the slave areas up into Canada that people were smuggled through. the white people, the allies, the white people put their lives on the line for that. And that's just one case. That's just the Quakers. But the narrative that people want to put out, and this is why everybody's like arguing with each other, but some people can't accept that. Not all white ancestors did that. So many white populations here in the United States spent most of their time here in total poverty. And discriminated against, and every European immigrant culture that has come here has been oppressed and discriminated against, not as much as the African Americans, but those people were not in positions to do that. Eventually their white privilege kind of kicked in, but the Italians weren't white when they came here. The Irish weren't white when they came here. It's a much bigger picture than can be told with this simple narrative that you people try and throw out there. And so there may be some people that have a problem with me for bringing that stuff up, but that's truth. That was part of the problem when Witch Doctor Utu's book came out. You got a white person talking about the Underground Railroad. Well, it turns out that that white person had done more research than anybody else, because if you just looked it up on Wikipedia, you'd see how important the Quakers were in that. And why was that? Because the Quakers' version of Christianity, slavery, was anti-Christian, as was war. They were some of the opponents of war historically, but they also opposed slavery, and they put their lives on the line to have to stop it. Not acknowledging that, to hold on to our that other scenario that we want to throw out, that's cognitive dissonance. That's not truth. That's ignoring truth because it's an inconvenient truth. And it messes with our first argument. If our first argument can't stand up to truth, we don't have an argument. If it can't stand up to questioning, there's no argument. We have nothing there. There are more similarities in magic and spirituality worldwide than there are differences. Just today, somebody posted this story about poppets. You know what I mean? Arguments I've gotten in the African community when using a poppet, and they say the doll's ours, it came from voodoo, it came from this, it came from that. No. We're finding it in ancient Greece. The farthest back we find it, ancient Greece, and followers of Hecate were making puppets, using them just like we use puppets to this day. Doll magic, the magic of personification, is one of the Hermetic laws, one of the laws of magic that came out of the work of Hermes. And I've always said, all magic's following the same laws, whether we like it or not. People trip out of that because they don't want to believe that, but I gotta remind you people, Hermes came from Egypt. Egyptians were black, they were African. Stop trying to act like the Egyptians were black. Discount all their stuff. They were black too. It just so happens that Hermes hit on the right note. We all happen to be using those same laws. The law of personification would be the magical law that came out of Hermes' work that all of these people are using. Likewise, sympathetic magic, the law of sympathetic magic. Like attracts like. Again, comes out of the work of Hermes. Everybody's using that. Using that voodoo too. Okay, I'm sorry. I was on a tangent. Okay, maybe I'll do 15 more minutes. Real story. Will the real story manifest? Real story of what? Over time, I'm sure this is a problem. We learn more about history as time goes on. We will know about that more. I doubt that when these arguments first came up that everybody knew that the Quakers helped build the Underground Railroad. So much of the African community was that way. It's like, look, slaves weren't allowed education. They weren't allowed books. Now that people are not slaves, fucking get educated, man. Read the fuck out of books. Take everything that your masters denied you, man. Don't stay in ignorance. Don't repeat just a bunch of folk shit that folks said. No, the folk were not all-knowing They had some wise shit, but no folk, no ancestors from any tradition were all-knowing or all perfect, and many people were their ancestors. The best thing they could come up with was using leeches for medicine, which is still used in medicine, but still, what else? Uchu Witch Doctor's book was heated shock in the African American community. Yes, it was, and maybe that pissed off some of the African American community, but not the ones that I traverse. I was right in the middle of the Lucky Mojo Wars, where the majority of the African American community connected to Lucky Mojo split. I don't know of hardly any black faces remaining. And I was right in the middle of that. It started with my friend Candelo, and I just happened to have started a podcast right before that. You can hear all about that. The endangered elephant in the room, tiger. I was very vocal in that war and told everybody, told everything about it. Somebody asked, do I do the pentagrams, the watchtowers, and every ritual? I do, but watch. I just did it, and I took it down. Now, once you've used your tools and done your entire ritual for about 40 years, you can do it like that, the empty-handed gesture. I recommend that new witches use tools. You don't do that with no experience. But in time, you can do it without that shit. And then I can cast circle on a bus. I can cast circle walking down the streets. Or I can. Eventually, you've got to get to the point where you do that. Not in the beginning. So, yes and no. All right, I do a few more questions, but I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff that I got to do, and that my wife's going to ask me to do in a minute. My wife's publishing her blog right now, layerofthedog.com, and here's some of our fascinating stories. Again, I'm doing this to help the community and to prepare for my next course, the August 1st Witchcraft Year and a Day course, which will be that. Be sure you're going to have a position in that. You need to contact me at witchschool@gmail.com. WITCHSKEWL@gmail.com. And there's many, many other classes up there. What do you know about aerokinesis and other kinesis? I don't know about telekinesis. Shit. No, a bit about telekinesis, aerokinesis, making things move through the air, I would guess, based on that word. Haven't seen a whole lot of people manifest telekinesis, but once or twice I have moved an object with my mind, and it is a proven. I know if I focus enough energy right here, I can fog my glasses. I can see heat going out. Or not heat, you got energy. And they used to have those old kits for working on telekinesis where you'd spin the thing. Am I going to check out Brian Kane's book? Yes. Am I going to check out Brian Kane's book and do an interview? Yeah, I already got him online for whenever they get back from their fabulous vacation in Italy right now, which I wish I was on. Sometime after they come back from their fabulous vacation, mid-June, I'm going to have Brian Kane on Wittershins to talk about his book that's very controversial already, and people have only seen the cover. I have been fortunate to read several chapters, and I won't get into that. Why I was fortunate enough to read those, but I have those connections. I got on there, and there's also some talk of my wife interviewing him for Pathos Pagan. We're waiting for the manager from Pathos Pagan to get back from his fabulous vacation to see about setting that up. Telekinesis, just pick it up. I don't know if it's that easy to pick up, but from what I know, from the way that I've learned to practice telekinesis, it's projecting a certain amount of heat from your eyes, and I've been able to do it like candles. You put a certain amount of heat in a beam next to the flame, you'll pull the flame that way, a certain amount of heat that way. pull it that way. That's, can demonstrate your abilities. And there used to be these little kits that they would have where you would spin this little windmill looking thing around, and all those were just sending some heat. Lifting cars and shit, now I've never really gotten good at that one. I don't know too many people that have. We're doing Ask Uncle Birch. I'll do a few more questions, and then I gotta go. Good questions today, I gotta say. My channel is always the best questions. I go to some of these noob channels, it's all the same questions. So, you got a question, type, try not to be too long-winded. Try not to ask me a question while I'm answering a question. I know there may be some lag. I hope they don't do that thing when my face gets scrambled and pixelated again. But cloud busting. Cloud busting is kind of the same thing. We're projecting heat up at the clouds from our minds, and the government, U.S. government, has just admitted that they have the power to do that, and that's basically what they're doing. They're sending microwaves up to heat portions of the atmosphere to control the weather. They're doing on a much larger scale, but that's pretty much the same thing. We're sending heat with our minds. Yeah, way back in the day, I can remember playing around with stuff like that. It's amazing where attention goes, energy flows, and clouds is definitely a place to see that. It would be really difficult to do here right now. What do you know about life path number 33? Okay, I'm trying to be nice. I don't believe that life paths can be put in boxes and given numbers. But I see that a lot. People are, how do I know what my life path is? I say, well, what you do is start walking. Start walking, and then you look back at a certain point, and you say, oh shit, I'm on my path. Shit, I've been on my path for a while. You will not see the path. You will not see the path before you. It bends and winds and twists and turns. It's called twisted path for a reason. You will not even know you're on your path. Quit trying to find it. Just start walking. Raven Gramassi said that the original tarot card deck had two fools. And that is where we get the two jokers in the main card deck. And the only difference between the two fools was one fool had an empty rucksack and one fool had a full rucksack, describing two different paths in the craft that were acceptable at the time. And one of those paths, you went through your training, you filled your bag of tricks, and struck out into the world to make your craft yours. The other path, you struck out into the world with very little training and filled up your bag of tricks with things you found along the way. And those paths were always acceptable within witchcraft and represented by the two fools. I rarely see a deck that comes with two fools anymore, however. But yeah, I see this a lot, and I know nothing of the numbering of life paths, but I just don't think that those kind of things can be put in boxes and numbered to make us easily grasp them. So that's what I think, I guess. Question, ask Uncle Birch, give it a shot, do a few more. Is it true by birth that somebody can be a higher vibration than others? Yeah, some people are born vibrating at a higher frequency. It was originally believed that we were here to go to school, to learn great spiritual truths, and it was near each of the zodiacal signs, and that the process of initiation was to rush the lessons so that we could go through more than one zodiacal zodiological sign in a lifetime to learn those lessons. And that the conditions of our life, the conditions of our birth were decided by our higher self based on the lessons that we were to inherit, which is really the embodiment of karma. It's what karma means. It doesn't just mean what goes around comes around. And that'd be kind of hard to grasp. So People that have been through more lifetimes or further along the wheel of reincarnation will tend to be born with a different vibration, or higher vibration, if you will, than people that are their first time here. Some people are more spiritually awake at a younger age than others, and it just kind of happens that way. Some people are just kind of born that way. Tyrone asked, have I ever been in a Palo war? Palo. I originally got into Palo because I was involved in witch wars, and that was a tradition that addressed that and had methods for that Wicca and witchcraft didn't address well enough. Then I came to find there was a lot more in Palo. Poleros and Poleras feel a greater freedom to what we call throw on you than others. Having said that, it's the dumbest fucking idea I've ever heard in my life. And one thing that I can say, and the idea in all of Palo, is that you must be initiated. And it's called scratched. And scratched is a blood oath taken over a prenda. Prenda is an object, a pot, that represents a god or a goddess, if you will. They're more similar to the orishas, and actually have an equivalent for each orisha. A blood pact is made over that pot. And part of the reason, one of the main reasons for people to get scratched into Palo is protection. And the belief is that once you've been scratched over that pot takes the hit. Now, while I may have a pot, that's not the pot I was scratched over. I was scratched over my Tata's pot. My Tata's pot takes the hit. So, while they feel really free to do it, I just don't understand the rationale. Their attack on me is going to go over there to my Tata's pot, which is way more powerful than my pot. And I got my own shit up over here, my own protections up over here. So I just never understood what gets into their heads, but they really, it's a very male-dominated tradition. There's a lot of what we call peacocking going on, and poleros on the internet will throw on each other out of machismo. No fucking reason at all. So yeah, it comes up. Thanks for the question. All right, ask Uncle Birch. Maybe I do 3 more questions. Having a great time, but I'm looking at 83:39. It's going to take forever for this to finish processing as it is. But thank you all for coming. Doing Ask Uncle Birch. We've got a couple last minute questions. Look at them. You learn fast through fighting, though. Yes. Some of my more recent work, and you can find a lot of it on Gumroad, is involving spiritual warfare. But I see witchcraft in all things. It's kind of the thing. When I read The Art of War, I see the art of magical war. When I read something about acupuncture, I see how acupuncture can be used in witchcraft. I'm thinking that way about everything that I see. So it's a no-brainer for me to see the art of war within witchcraft, not to give away any of my forthcoming book. Besides being witched, I have psychic abilities too. It's they get stronger over time, especially, you keep tapping in there and divining, and, I believe divination means 2 things. It hints towards the divine, which means the god or the goddess or the spirits are deciding the pattern that the cards are going to fall in, the bones, the runes, but also I think it's the subconscious too. And I know my subconscious has the power to track all those cards as I'm shuffling them, even though it seems like I can barely see them. Subconscious has the ability to manipulate those bones in that hand and make those bones fall into that space. But I also believe the divine operates through the subconscious. The subconscious is where the witchcraft happens, so it's kind of twofold. I'm doing it, they're doing it. So sometimes they just come in and do it. shit just, comes into my head. It's not all about divination. I just got one foot in the spiritual world and one foot in the physical world, back and forth. So yes, Emerald City Mystic. All right, we're doing Ask Uncle Birch. We're winding down the session, kids. I had a lot of fun, good questions, maybe a couple more. What type of witches do you, what type of witches do you and your family identify with? Blah, 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 blah. I mean, if anything, I'm more Strega than any other tradition, but I don't think that's what you're driving at, because this is a thing that I have to answer on the new witch sites all day, every day. I don't get into this witch typing, green witch, natural witch, swamp witch. Took us a long time to get people to stop thinking witches were green, so I don't know. I don't get into witch typing. I know there's a couple books that do it. All the noobs really into that. They ask, how do you find out what your witch type is? I just don't believe that. I just don't believe that. A witch should not be able to be held in a box. It's too limiting. I have so many types of witchcraft, be they green, brown, gray, you fucking name it. Don't. It's not my thing. It's your thing, great, but if I see you on one of the witch sites asking that question, I might give you a hard time. I have to. Somebody has to. Tyrone asked, what happens after the year and a day class? Well, I'll probably be doing an advanced class after that, Tyrone, but I got to get at least your class finished before I start recording the advanced class. Have I remembered any of the stages of my past life? Have I remembered any of the portions of my past life? That's kind of tricky. I don't think I believe in reincarnation the same way that my elders do, or that you do, or that most people do. However, my version of reincarnation can be scientifically proven. I believe that I know that my body is made up of particles, atoms and things. And these particles that make up me have been many people, places, and things. There's particles that make me up that have been stars, planets, clouds in space. I forget what that's called. They've been all kinds of things. They've been animals. They've been people. Everybody thinks that they were Cleopatra in a former life. Well, hey, guess what? We probably were. I probably got an atom in here that was part of Cleopatra. These particles on an atom and destroy a city. It's a huge, huge amount of power. We could split all the atoms in our body as we blow up the whole planet. It's a huge amount of power. And these things have a vibration, and that's like their spirit. And I believe they have a memory. These particles remember everything that they have been. In that, I remember past lives. I remember past lives as many things, in many different ways. In that, I can prove reincarnation. We absolutely have been many things. And perhaps the energy that makes up our soul is the combined vibration of those atoms and particles in unison. And I don't know, if those same particles don't come together the same way, maybe we're a totally different person. Maybe our individuality doesn't even exist after this. It's possible. It's possible. Somebody asked, how do I sign up for the year and a day courses? Well, there's two ways. I can secure as many spots as I want. So if you want to get in for sure, you email me at witchschool@gmail.com. That's WITCHSKEWL@gmail.com. And I will save your spot. If you want to take your chances, well, then you on August 1st, you go to gumroad.com/witchschool, and it will be posted August 1st, Witch School Year in a Day, or something to that effect. I'll try and remember that that's the title I gave it, but you got to look for that one, because I got 2 other courses going. One started in March, one started in May. I've had people screw up. They're too excited, and they clicked on those and joined that class and had to jump out of that class and they had to refund their money. Classes, $35 a month, automatically deducted. The classes work on smartphones, work on computers, work whatever you have. They're all video and some text, some PDFs, some stuff, little tidbits, a class of everything that I believe that a witch needs to know in a year and a day to go off on their own, either to go get initiated or to go solo or even to set up shop. I'm even teaching some professional witchery and ways that I've learned on how you can do this. I wouldn't suggest quitting your day job right away. It is absolutely possible for a witch to make a living as a witch, for a psychic to make a living as a psychic, and that's no competition to me. The more the merrier. I'm going to teach people how to do that. I'm going to teach some brewing techniques and whatnot, some shop craft, everything that I think you should know, and I think a very lot. And I believe my students are some of the best students out here. Do I still confirm with Frater? Absolutely, I talk to him all the time. I just talked to Frater Xavier, just a couple days ago. I was thinking of putting classes up on Patreon too, but you can't go over like 200 megabytes. And most of my classes, even if I compress them, they're like gigabytes long and shit. And I thought Frater Xavier was doing classes over there too, but apparently he's doing other smaller videos there. Hello, Juniper something. My screen just went kind of dim for some reason. Certainly hope I've been charging this whole time. All right, I'm gonna do one more question. And then I just spin the wheel and win a prize. All right. Black cat got your tongue? Will evocation be covered in the course? Of course it will. That's it. I don't even count that one. Okay, one more question. Of course it will. Which needs to know evocation, invocation, banishing, all of it. Transformation, above and beyond what is known in the normal witchcraft world. Any student that comes out of my course will have their bag of tricks filled with shit that's going to make them sound like an old, wise person on some of these noob sites. They're going to be saying shit that most witches have never heard of. And people will go research and they'll find out you were right. It's rather vague, but I'll give you what I think about that. Again, the thing I just said about reincarnation is going to mess up most of what people think about that, but I do believe in soulmates of a type, but I believe, there's like romantic soulmates, friendship soulmates, adversarial soulmates. Adversaries born onto this plane to play out their adversarial relationship. Again, for some reason, maybe they didn't finish it in the last lifetime. I don't know. But in a way, I believe in the soul's ability to divide itself into many parts. Because as above, so below. Okay? I was taught that there is one source. We can call it the force, we can call it whatever you want, you can call it Godhead. From this original source, all of the gods and goddesses come from. They're connected to it. There are pieces of it. There are different manifestations of it. We are even different manifestations of that. And I believe that we are different manifestations of our own soul. Born here to have certain interactions with pieces of ourselves. It could be we're just loving ourselves when we find those soulmates. Or it could be we're just fighting with ourselves when we have those adversarial soulmates. It's a theory, but a scientifically based theory. Harder to undo, harder to disprove, but I'm above, I'm thinking that, I'm at thinking outside the box kind of witch. That's the way I try to train my kids. Don't just repeat what I said. Figure that shit out. Figure out what it means for yourself. I am Uncle Birch. I do this pretty often, so if you're not subscribed, I don't know how you saw this here, but subscribe to the channel and you'll find out when I do that. You find me on all kinds of new witch sites, beginners Wicca and Witchcraft, or Wicca and Witchcraft for Beginners. One of those sites has authorized me to do that on their site, and I do that from time to time, just to expose myself to totally random questions. I get better questions on my channel, but then I got a lot of those people coming to my channel now too. So I thank you for coming. Check me out on all those different pages, and check out my podcast. This is actually tonight. I'm not even sure what I'm going to talk about tonight, but it's never stop me. I'll have 2 hours of interesting things to say tonight, 5 p.m. Pacific.com/Wittershins. That's Spreaker.